Hey everyone, this is Chris. Welcome back to the channel. So I just want to kind of give you a general market update, sort of things that I think is going on, and also point out a particular story that might get buried. So I just wanted to share this with you first. So it's regarding FTX. And if you saw my video regarding FTX, you'll know that there is a agency out there that is certainly organizing many creators on YouTube, especially all the ones in the finance space, all the big ones.
I'll explain in just a moment, right after I mention that if you want to take advantage of buying the crypto dip, check out our sponsor today, FTX.
Times of uncertainty, if you're looking to buy, sell, track, or trade a multitude of cryptocurrencies and NFTs all in one place with fees that are up to 85% lower than the top competitors, then our sponsor, FTX US, is here.
As it turns out, FTX is under scrutiny from the government. Essentially, the government is telling them to lay off social media because of misleading claims and sort of misleading confidence in investors, that sort of leading investors to believe that crypto and NFTs and these kind of things are FDIC approved or insured. That's a better way to put it. But basically, it sort of fits into the FTX strategy of using these sort of established social media people to sort of give confidence in people. And that's why I call it all a scam. So just wanted to bring this up to you. I think it's a serious thing when the government's like, hey, cut it out. I think it does matter, and do pay attention to these things. Also, too, going around the market, Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, they're looking to acquire even more Occidental shares. So that's one of the few stocks in the market that's really showed resilience. I've mentioned this one before a couple of times. And generally speaking, unlike say like a Ryan Cohen with Bed Bath & Beyond, or other sort of pumpy dumpy kind of stocks, when Warren Buffett buys something, he buys it and he holds it like for dear life. So he's probably the king of diamond hands, if you want to use that kind of language, and it's really funny. But yeah, they're picking up more Occidental shares and looking to get up to half is what it looks like. So I think the general gist of it is that they don't necessarily want to just completely buy out the company. And also too, you have to worry about regulators when you get to this kind of money. The other thing too that's going on in the markets, housing situation, or say mortgage crisis. Looks like Canada may be facing some issues in terms of a housing crash, and also what's going on with sort of variable rate mortgages. Are people going to be able to pay it back? The general gist of it is, and if you guys remember the 0809 situation, is if one person stops paying, then they can't pay another, and they can't pay another, and blah, 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 down the domino. We may see this kind of thing in China, and I didn't realize, that's why I'm pointing out Canada, I didn't realize this thing might be a problem in Canada as well. So I just wanted to bring this issue to you guys. Also too, which I think is important as well, is coming in September, traditionally is the weakest month of the year for stocks. So this could be a real volatile time. The Fed's going to announce yet more rate increases. There's no way they're not increasing rates. We know they're doing that, but how much is anyone's guess. So you'll hear conjecture anywhere from 25, 50 to 75. Kind of what the Fed does is they start planting stories in the media to get a sense of what the market's thinking. And this is a little bit of BS there, because frankly speaking, they should just be data dependent and just go ahead and just do what they think is right in terms of data. But the Fed, they're not supposed to, but they are playing a little bit of political game where they kind of send people out in the public and get to test the waters. Because essentially I feel like they just don't want to sink the market, which isn't really the Fed's job. The Fed's job is to control the economy. But however, it feels like there's a little bit of financial shenanigans going on. And we'll see, I've mentioned this before, if indeed suddenly, the Fed becomes ridiculously hawkish, meaning that, oh my God, we're going to, put the brakes on the economy, we're going to raise interest rates. And if they do that after midterm elections, right, then we know there's definitely shenanigans. Like I said, I believe they should be an independent body. Other than that, other things going on in the market, there's always something crazy on social media. I just made a video about that. I know people like to talk about these things, and that's why I mentioned the FTX thing to you guys. One of the things that sort of bothers me what's going on in markets these days is people aren't talking about bonds enough. Bonds is something that is not popular on social media. It's just not cool because everyone wants to essentially, triple their money in 2 days or whatever. But not everyone is meant to be a trader, and it's tough because you have to pay attention to everything all day, every day. And one of the best advice I have for many people out there is get dividend stocks, focus on what you're good at, and don't try to be like trying to play the market all the time, because for most people, it's frankly it's just too tough, and the big money seems to be manipulating it. If you take a look at the headlines here, it shows that big money is like shorting stocks. They're going long on stocks, and they're just kind of playing the sides and the momentum back and forth. But this is sort of big money hedge fund. That's essentially what they're doing. And for the average retail investor, your best bet is just, buy your blue chippers and dividend stocks and stuff like that. The other thing too, which I mentioned, the bonds aren't necessarily cool these days, but I want to make them cool, is the I bonds. I've mentioned it before back in May. I mentioned to him again. If you don't know what these things are, they are bonds issued by the government, and their essentially rate is tied to inflation. Currently, they're returning 9.62% a year, which is great. Especially, like I said, if you're not a trader, these are totally fine to be in. And, for any sort of portfolio, you should have some stocks, some bonds, some cash. Maybe put your money in real estate. Although, these days the possible real estate crash is a real thing. So we'll see what happens with that. I personally, for people out there who are considering, should you buy a house now? Should you wait? I personally am in the waiting camp. I think a lot of people out there are waiting as well, because there's just so many factors going on in the market that it's a bit tricky to navigate. One of the things that I mentioned or recently saw, this is kind of funny. Vladimir Putin, this is how crazy things that can happen in the world. He just issued a new policy that if you have 10 children in Russia, he will give you 1,000,000 rubles. So it's pretty funny because, if you end up doing this 10 children thing, you'll be deemed by the government a hero, and they'll call you like the heroine of Russia, essentially. So it is official title. And but that sort of represents the craziness in our markets. Even official governments are doing crazy things. The last thing too I want to mention is that some people have asked me, what do I think about the Democrats, inflation bill, etc. So this is my general understanding of it, and this is for any government policy that's ever passed. Oftentimes, politicians have things that they want to do, okay? And it doesn't matter the part. They have things that they want to do. And whenever they get the opportunity to do that said thing, they'll throw it in there regardless of it addresses the particular problem that we're talking about. So in this situation, the inflation bill, one of the things that Democrats just want to do, and I don't necessarily disagree, I'm just saying it's something they want to do, is give money towards alternative energy, right? Does that necessarily fight inflation now? Probably not, because we're still a ways away from all of us mass adopting, solar power, wind power, these kind of things. But this is a policy that they wanted to put in place before. They're also talking about, doing things to help the price of essentially pharmaceuticals and drugs for people. Does this help inflation? Maybe for some people, but not necessarily for everybody, right? And so anything that they're talking about or proposing about doing, it's stuff they already want to do, and it's not anything in particular that fights inflation today. If you really wanted to help Americans today, you would just print up a bunch of money and give them money. But you kind of know how that went last time. So the problem is that inflation is not an easy thing to fight. No one wants to come out and say, hey, everyone, we need to essentially raise unemployment. That's essentially what it takes. Or, hey, everyone, we need to just raise interest like crazy because there's still too much liquidity in the market. And, sort of what represents that is the meme stock trade is still well alive. And same with crypto is still alive and well. So we'll see what happens this weekend, and we'll see what happens in September. As I mentioned to you guys, just want to reiterate, September is the weakest stock of the weakest time for stocks, the weakest month of the year for stocks. And we'll see if the trend continues. I expect it to. I think the month will be really, really volatile. And that's why I think what's going on around the market. So love to hear your thoughts on these things. Always love your comments, and I love to appreciate you guys. You tune in the channel on a daily basis, and I try to put out content with you guys. And also too, if you haven't caught up my content on life in Korea, I think you'll find it enjoyable. That's over in the vlog playlist, and that's all I have. So thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.